listening to this is the latest attack is that Hillary Clinton is for open borders. Like what? What? The demagogues on the right really boggle my mind. Surely they realize that Hillary Clinton will carry on where the deporter-in-chief left off, and that she'll be far more vicious when she does it than Trump could ever be. So where are they going with this nonsense about open borders? And it is nonsense. This is the person that wanted to send children back to Central America to send their parents the message that they're not wanted. And they claim she wants open borders, right? What planet exactly is it that these people live on? It's one thing to sit down and have an honest debate. I would personally support a Schengen-area type agreement. I want open borders, and I know that Clinton does not represent my views at all. But you can't have an honest debate with these people, okay? They throw out ridiculous strawman arguments. They have no interest in reality. In my view, the problem with NAFTA is that it doesn't go far enough in integration. I'm not naive. I know that's the point. That way corporations can hide behind the lax labor laws in Mexico. It's by design. I get it. But I don't want to just tear the thing up and go back to protectionism either. When we had this debate up here in Canada, the Liberal Party took what I think was the correct position. They supported the idea of free trade, but they opposed NAFTA. And they basically blamed the shittiness of NAFTA on Mulroney caving on everything imaginable to Reagan, and I think that history upholds the absolute correctness of this position. Here's a little bit of trivia that probably most people don't know. Why do we have NAFTA? Where did this come from? It was actually an idea that was initiated by the current Prime Minister's father, Pierre Trudeau. He set up something called the Macdonald Commission. There was a cabinet minister, a fairly important person in Canadian history with the unfortunate name of Donald MacDonald. Yes, if your last name is MacDonald, do not name your child Donald, please. Because then they have to walk around their whole lives being called Donald MacDonald. We don't even need to talk about the whole Ronald slant, okay? It's the redundancy, you know? You could really, or if you're going to do it, just go full out and name your child McDonald so that they're called McDonald. There's no need, you know, to avoid the Mick. If you're going to be Donald McDonald, just be McDonald. Stand up for it, you know? And like I said, we don't even need to go down this whole Ronald path. We can just ignore that. But his name was Donald MacDonald. He was, as I stated, a fairly important person in Canadian history. And there was a Macdonald Commission set up by Pierre Trudeau. He wanted to explore the options, and out of that came an agreement between Canada and the United States called the Free Trade Agreement, which was then expanded into NAFTA. That was entirely the mind. It came right from the Liberal Party. And then they were put in the bizarre position in the 1988 and 1993 elections of opposing the agreement that they created, because the Conservatives and Republicans just went out to lunch with it. They took what was initially meant to actually be like Trudeau's concept was like Trudeau wanted a free trade agreement, an actual free trade agreement. And, you know, the corporatists in the Republican Party got a hold of it, essentially turned it into a protectionist treaty with all kinds of... We don't need to have another rant about NAFTA. We've had enough rants about NAFTA. But that is the right agreement. Mexico's another story, but at least if we're talking about just the United States and Canada, free trade's a good idea. We have roughly comparable everything. Really basically the same thing. You know, we're the liberal side, America's the conservative side, but it's the same bloody culture, right? Minor differences. Of course, the Quebecois might disagree, but broadly speaking. Like I say, Mexico is a different... It just doesn't have the same standard of living. I wish it did, but it doesn't, right? And so... But the initial idea of Canada and the United States, a free trade agreement, great idea. But that's not what we got. We got this crazy investor rights agreement, right? And so yeah, it would be nice to throw Chapter 11 in the trash, first of all, but realistically that's not going to happen right off the bat. What we can do more immediately is give workers back mobility rights, so that the corporations can't hide behind the borders anymore. Open borders sounds like a good idea to me. But Clinton represents the people that don't want open borders, that set up this agreement specifically so that there wouldn't be, so that they could hide behind the border and get preferential treatment in one area and then sell goods on the other side of it. No labor laws on one side of the border so that they could sell things on the other side of it. Clinton represents those people. They don't want open borders, guys. But if we do give workers back their mobility rights, then the wage differentials will start to break up, and meaningful concepts of comparative advantage will assert themselves. The race to the bottom will stop, not by putting up walls, but by tearing them down. Which is what, again, the idea behind NAFTA was meant to be, but not what it actually became. NAFTA is not an agreement to tear down borders. NAFTA is an agreement to make borders more enforced. We need to get into Mexico and organize the workforce, okay? We don't need to build walls that'll help management to continue to exploit workers. This is why they beat us, because they managed to convince workers that they were in competition with the Mexicans rather than in solidarity with them. Had workers on all sides of the border, in the three countries, stood together in solidarity, none of this would have happened. But management managed to convince them that they were in competition with each other for jobs, and that's why we got this mess. We need cross-border unions. We need an auto union that combines workers in Mexico, the US, and Canada, and stands up for common conditions and workers' rights. But NAFTA is there to prevent that. The border is there to prevent that. And for that reason, capital will never let the border fall outright. Okay? The reality is the current arrangement is the best possible one for capital because capital designed it that way. And no major party is going to disrupt it. To suggest that Clinton wants to get in the way of this is outrageously disingenuous. She's a corporatist. She doesn't want open borders. It's ridiculous.